My dad, 65 male, is a heavy diesel mechanic and has run a small workshop his whole life. I, 29 male, have always been interested in his work since I was a kid and would always help him out on the weekends. I went to university and studied engineering and commerce, but struggled and dropped out and traveled the world for a year. My siblings, 36 male and 32 female, are both in investment banking and are successful in their careers. Since I was 23, I've worked with my dad as a mechanic and slowly taken over his workshop. When I started, he had 2 part-time mechanics and 1 car in 2017. I have brought in several new strategies, and we have grown to 35 employees and 15 cars. We went from $250,000 in revenue to just shy of $7 million this financial year. My dad only works in the workshop while I'm more 20/80 workshop to office split. A few weeks ago at my dad's 65th birthday dinner, he talked about the numbers of the business, and everyone was shocked. No one in the family has ever visited our workshop and asked about it. Since then, he has been thinking about the succession plan after my siblings have been asking about it. He proposed the following idea to me. I get 40% of the business. They get 30% and 30%. My sister would get a manager position, as she is looking to leave the investment banking world to start a family, and my brother would get the same as well if he wants it. I noted everything he said and just asked for some time to think. They started proposing some of the most insane ideas without any context of the business. I'm seriously annoyed. My dad has run this for 32 years, but only since I joined did we expand. I admit I did use my dad's network, reputation, skill, and initial workshop to get a head start, but it was my idea to expand, get a bigger workshop, and implement risky ideas. I don't think my siblings, who have never even asked about the business, should get cushy high-paying jobs for doing nothing. If we wanted a $200,000 a year manager, I would get one with industry experience. I have spoken to him briefly, but he was shocked by my reaction and said it was his dream to have all his kids work in the business. But my brother and sister have never even picked up a spanner before in their lives. I've been hanging around since I was 12. He always said it would be mine. I don't want to have to answer to a board of my siblings, who I get the vibe they think they are smarter than me, just because they finished university. I built this business with just my dad, and want to keep building it with him without my siblings. I can see it from their point of view, as this is a family business my dad started, and my dad wants to make more of an effort to include them, but I feel they only want to be included because we are now successful. I'm being accused of being greedy and entitled by my family. I think this is ridiculous, and the business is mine after spending the last 6 years building it. I would love to know if I'm the a-hole. Not the a-hole. The siblings are already posing ideas without knowing the business, instead of letting you teach them. This is a recipe for disaster. It sounds like your dad is trying to be fair to your siblings, but actually is screwing you over. You're right. Letting your sister manage the business without any clue of how it runs is a recipe for disaster. It's not about greed. It's knowing that you cannot work with your siblings as they appear not to have any respect for your contributions. Not the a-hole. Maybe you can start your own business. Not the a-hole. You need 51% so you own most of the business, else you will get voted out on ideas that might ruin the business, as they don't know it like you do. Remind him it was you that took his business up, and they have no experience in it, and may ruin it, so there would be no business for his grandchildren or great-grandchildren. That would be fair, considering what you know and have done, and what they don't know. Your concern is only to keep it running. I just wanted to give a quick update. I can't really sell my shares or this business. We are a service business where we get paid for the work we have done, and we have assets, but it's like used dirty tools, worth hundreds of thousands new, but nothing on the second market. We had a family business lawyer meeting last night, and I don't know what is happening. My sister and brother had been lobbying my dad about the direction and strategy of the company before this for weeks. They feel it would be in better hands with my sister being CEO, my brother being CFO, and me as COO, glorified operations manager, and unfortunately, my dad agrees with him. During the session, I felt incredibly patronized. They laid out this 5-year plan and how the company would grow to be this huge entity we would own equal amounts in. They didn't talk to anyone in the actual business about this plan or even our customers. They wanted to make things standard, but the reason our customers love us is that we are flexible and accommodating. I asked a few questions to see how set my dad was in this plan and realized he was really excited. I tried to argue the current business was 50-50 my dad's and me. Therefore, it should be split 66%, 15%, and 17%. Their huge salaries would be better off hiring mechanics to grow. I was told everyone is replaceable by my sister. This crushed me because I don't think that's true. I have so much tactic knowledge and the 27 mechanics are loyal to me. I secured our biggest 10 customers only in the last 15 months because I have this reputation as the mechanic who went to uni and worked on the tools. I know I leveraged this in the bidding process over other companies. This isn't like a public company. Everything in this industry is relationships. I've been reading The Art of War this last month, and I've decided that I'm not going to voice any more concerns. I'm going to go along with the plan and let my emotions mellow out and wait till I can think of some options. I, 47 male, went to a get-together with some work buddies at a bar Thursday night with my wife Kara, 45 female. A co-worker, Alan, 36 male, was there with his pregnant wife Jess, 33 female. Fake names. For context, Kara and I are unable to have kids. The get-together was going well. We were having a good time shooting pool, throwing darts, and having drinks. Now, I knew Jess was pregnant. Alan told us at work because it's their first. Kara did not know. I didn't tell her because Kara and Jess are not friends, so it didn't cross my mind. Plus, looking at Jess, you can't even tell. After about an hour, Kara asked Jess why she was sticking to soda and not having a drink, as she was the only one. Yeah, I thought that was a bit rude. I have family that are recovering alcoholics, and they don't like explaining that to people they don't know, so I learned not to ask questions like that. But Jess didn't seem to mind, and Kara told her she was pregnant. Kara congratulated her, just like we all congratulated Alan. There were questions about how far along Jess was, if it was a boy or girl, nursery design, etc. I understood the reason for the question since Kara and I couldn't conceive, but I could tell Jess wasn't super comfortable with them. So I jokingly told Kara to give the lady some space, she is creating life after all. And that's when Kara reached over, patted Jess on her stomach and said, "Well, Mama better get used to it because it's all about baby now." And she said it to Jess's stomach. Before you ask, yes, I was mortified. I've heard of people touching pregnant women's stomachs before, but I've never actually seen it, and I've never witnessed Kara do it. It's just not something I'd think to do. Jess pushed Kara's hand away and walked outside. I saw Alan go after her, and when he came back in, he told us he was taking Jess home. Kara asked if she was okay, and Alan, annoyed, asked, "Would you be okay if someone touched you without your permission?" and walked away. Kara started talking about how rude Alan was, but on the way home, I told her that I thought she was the rude one for touching Jess without her permission. Kara said it was only for a split second, and that Jess was being sensitive. But I thought Jess had a right to be upset. She told me we were all being too sensitive and she'd love to have experienced pregnancy and people fawning over our baby. I ended up texting Alan and apologized for what happened. He accepted it and said Jess was all right and she forgave Kara too. But now Kara is mad at me for not only apologizing on her behalf without her permission, but also for not being on her side. But I feel like it's not about sides. What she did was weird, and it doesn't matter if I sided with her or not. The point is, you offended someone. She hasn't really spoken to me much since Thursday, except to ask what I wanted for dinner. Am I the a-hole? Wait. So your wife thinks it's okay to touch someone without their permission, but you are wrong for apologizing without her permission? Not the a-hole. You never touch a pregnant woman, or anyone for that matter, without their permission. I'm willing to bet your wife would be that person to go kissing all up on a newborn too. Just because your wife says she would want people fawning all over her, does not mean everyone feels the same way. It's creepy, especially if you don't know the person. Not the a-hole. Your wife seems to take having to apologize as a major blow to her ego, even if she was completely not in the wrong, which she was in this case with the inappropriate touching. It's still fine to apologize for causing someone offense, to show that you respect their feelings. It would have been ideal for her to apologize directly, but since she isn't going to, you handled it well by apologizing on her behalf. You and her both sucked here. To be clear, you don't touch another person without their invitation. It doesn't matter if you would be okay being touched in that situation. It doesn't matter if it was briefly. It doesn't matter if you think the person being touched is sensitive for not liking it. That is important for your spouse to understand. For that, she is the a-hole. But you also don't get to apologize for someone else without their consent, even if apologizing would be the right thing to do. Finally, talk to your wife. This was surprising news, and given her comments, I suspect her reactions were more about how she felt seeing someone else pregnant, but not her. Sorry. Everyone sucks here, except Alan and Jess. I, 24 female, am currently living with my mom, 48 female. My parents have been separated for about 5 years and are on good terms. I'm also close to my father and his side of the family, more than my mom's. For the record, and this is important, I am an only child. I recently started looking for a place of my own, and my mom graciously offered to help with the down payment as like an early inheritance. I was obviously super grateful, but I told her clearly that if she wants to give me money, it is mine to do with as I please. And if she prefers to lend me the money, that is also fine. I do intend to put the money towards the house. It's a matter of if I were to pass without a will. My mom has inherited money from her parents a while ago and still considers that money the family money. She is in the process of, finally, taking my dad out of her will, and vice versa, and has been pressuring me to write a will for about a year now. I told her that when I turned 25 I would, and then it would make more sense because I'd actually have a property. She has always said that she wants her family money to go back to her family. I always said as long as I don't have kids, my money and assets would go to my cousin, 24 female, who's really like a sister to me, who happens to be on my dad's side. This obviously implies whatever house I have. Tonight, she once again demanded that I include her wishes to have the family money returned to her side if I were to pass without any kids in my upcoming will. I told her I would consider her wishes when the time comes, but once I inherit, I do think this becomes my money, and I can do whatever I want with it. She said I was being pig-headed and refusing to respect her wishes, and would remove me from her will. She kept insisting the money not go to my dad's family. I told her she was trying to be controlling, but it was in her right to do whatever she wants with her money. I don't want it with strings attached. She asked what my dad would say, and I told her I genuinely think he trusts me enough to do what I think is right with his money when he passes, and not impose terms on the inheritance. Am I the a-hole? The contents of your will should be private. Just nod and smile and put different instructions in the will, not the a-hole. Edited. Another option would be to leave everything to your mother in your will, should you die first. Then, secondary to her, would be your cousin. So, technically, her money is going back to her family as you wouldn't have inherited off her yet anyway. Many times, money comes with strings attached. While I see your viewpoint, I agree with your mom on this one, and her desires are valid. Overall, though, you two just have two different views. If you can't come to an agreement, sounds like you're not getting any money for a house from her will. No harm, no foul in that. I'd hope you weren't planning on inheriting family money when you made determinations about future finances, career paths. Not the a-hole. Sort of not the a-hole, sort of you're the a-hole. You are definitely being pig-headed about this. Your mother has every right to have specific wishes for how her inheritance is handled and wanting to keep it on her side of the family. If you can't accept that, she doesn't have to give you anything. So, yeah, feel free to turn down free money because you won't respect your mom's wishes. It's a weird thing to do, but you're entitled. I, 32 male, got engaged to my wonderful wife, Angel, 32 female, back in 2019. We were supposed to get married in 2020, but for many tragic reasons, it didn't happen. We still moved in together, with the plan to have the wedding in 2021 to 2022. But unfortunately, my grandmother got sick and was most likely not going to make it. I was her only grandson and first grandchild to get married, and the idea of not being around long enough to see me get married broke her heart. Despite how badly Angel wanted to have a fairy tale type of wedding, she opted to have a quick and very low-maintenance wedding outside of the medical facility where my grandmother was staying at, so she could see from the window. My best friend, best man, Jake, 31 male, became ordained online. My parents and Angel's parents and sister were there. My grandmother was so delighted, and we all had a lot of fun sitting in lawn chairs just talking with my grandmother for the next hour. I want to make it very clear that this was all Angel's idea, and I never pressured or even asked her to do this. I was more in the hoping my grandmother pulls through camp, but my wife knew better, as my grandma died a few weeks after, and was my rock as I grieved. Before and after, I asked Angel if she was really okay with everything, and she would always smile and say that she was fine, and that being my wife and having a healthy and loving marriage was the ultimate prize. I never fully bought it, because I know Angel. Her 2 out of 10 top movies are The Wedding Planner and Monsters-in-Law. 3 of 5 if you want to count Mamma Mia. During that summer, while I was at my in-laws' place, I overheard Angel admit that while she was glad to have been able to give my grandma her wish at seeing me get married, a part of her will always be bummed out that her dream wedding will never be fulfilled. But she's made peace with it. I was sad for her and decided to start secretly saving money, and then once I had a certain amount, I planned to recreate my proposal to her, but this time offer her the wedding she actually wanted. A wedding where everyone she wanted to attend but couldn't because of 2020 can come. The only people who knew about what I was planning on doing was Jake and fiancé, whose idea this totally was, and my parents. My sister Lucy, 29 female, found out what I was planning for Angel, and then tearfully confessed that she needed surgery. I panicked at first, but when she admitted that this surgery is to help her lose weight and for her mental health, I refused to help pay, and she called me heartless, that Angel and I were already married, so it didn't matter, that having a second wedding, especially within the first 5 years of marriage, was tacky, and that it could wait while Lucy's mental health needed help now. I can't really talk to a lot of people in real life about this, and I know there's going to be a bias with the few that I can ask, so I wanted to come here and ask, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You and your wife are your priority, which is fine. Your sister shouldn't even have asked. She can either pay for it herself or not do the surgery. She isn't entitled to anything, and her comment was heartless. Not the a-hole. Simply put, it's your money, and you can choose to spend it any way you like. I don't know your sister's entire health situation, but I see the way she asked as well as her reaction as quite manipulative. Not the a-hole. Your sister's weight issues are not your concern. If she wanted this surgery, then it's up to her to pay for it. They are called elective surgeries for a reason, and there are many weight loss programs that actually work when the person is committed to losing weight.